Hello everyone, welcome back to the Mama Vic channel. Now, in this space here, in this environment, we like to talk about real-world use cases of digital currencies. How can cryptocurrencies be used in the real world? Obviously, that entails a lot of things. It entails the adaptability, it entails the how much it disenfranchises our ideas or democratizes different ideas. But at the same time, cryptocurrencies in the real-world use case requires application in terms of supply chains, in terms of oracles, in terms of lending, borrowing, and all other kinds of features getting embedded into the current financial structure as we know it. Of course, ultimately, when we reach a point where cryptocurrencies can be freely used to buy energy in this world, an example of energy is oil, then obviously at that point, the ship has already sailed at that point. The train has already taken off and the plane has already taken off the runway as well at that point. So there's something I want to look into today, which is, I think, also quite interesting. I want to look at decentralized identities, and this is going to lead me into Bitcoin. Now, the purpose of this video is to try and figure out the investment preposition of cryptocurrencies. I think people will never be satisfied. People will never be satisfied. They'll keep waiting for the next best thing, the next fix in the crypto space. For example, there's a Bitcoin halving, there's Ethereum smart contract, there's decentralized finance, there's NFTs. Basically, the cryptocurrency space is currently revolving around smart contracts and smart contract capabilities, and that's where our vision is kind of cupped right now. Of course, there are other problems like scalability that are being dealt with and true decentralization, but almost every platform right now has to have a de facto use case of smart contracts. You have to support NFTs, lending, borrowing, and preferably staking, because it's the easiest way people can add security to a network without having to buy physical equipment. Now, today's video ties in a big way into Fetch.AI and Mobix, even if it's about Bitcoin. So at least, let me say in a small way, but in a big way, though it's a bit indirect. So my main focus is decentralized identities, because if you look at this article, I actually covered a video about this article a couple of days ago. Mobix was talking about how they're using decentralized identities with Fetch.AI agents. And the point of this video is that Fetch.AI has actually gone ahead to leverage, if you look through its technologies, if you look through this article here, Mobix is telling you that one of the agents will be supplying verified credentials. But the other interesting thing is that we know that you can see here SSI ecosystem based on the Aries framework Go, which is Hyperledger, of which Hyperledger, there's a lot of involvement from Microsoft, and we're going to talk about why in a bit. Now, they also talk about ID union, so where these verifiable credentials, they are placed on the ID union. And you can see Fetch.AI is not one of the partners here, though of course Mobix is using this ecosystem, so I think it could be there. I thought I'd seen it. But even if Fetch.AI is not here or Mobix, you can see some of the partners they have, the mutual partners they have, like Bosch Global is a partner here. You can see Festo here. There was a third one, which is a common partner of Fetch.AI and Mobix, there's also T-Mobile. T-Mobile is there. And I think there's probably one more. I can't see it right now, but it's probably that. A data relay is over here. So, and this is Aries Go, it's Hyperledger. We know Hyperledger there's a lot of institutions with the Hyperledger ecosystem. You can see here, Hyperledger welcomes diverse lineup of new members, new identity project. And within here, they actually mention things like Microsoft and so on. So here you can see San Francisco, June 18th, 2019, Hyperledger, an open source collaborative effort created to advance cross-industry blockchain industries. Today announced a diversified lineup of 8 new members, including Ethereum Foundation, Microsoft, Nornico, and Salesforce. So Nornico and Salesforce. Hyperledger also added a new identity infrastructure project that spotlights interoperability across project development and broad community involvement. Now guys, this is tying serious strings together. So look here. This is the focus of Hyperledger, and look at this news here. ION, Microsoft's decentralized identity system, launches beta on Bitcoin mainnet. Guys, decentralized identities are one of the other things I'm extremely bullish on. Maybe you may not be able to invest in a decentralized identity coin, but this could help us find out companies that are emerging from this space that could go public that we could invest in. But this space could evolve in all kinds of ways. We have no idea. But I found this extremely interesting. There's two articles written by Bitcoin Magazine. This was February 18th, 2020. This was June 10th, 2020. The June 10th one is the shortest and it's one I'm going to look at. So we've read the ION Microsoft's decentralized identity system launches beta on Bitcoin mainnet. ION, a Microsoft-led decentralized identity system built on top of Bitcoin, has officially been moved to beta on Bitcoin's mainnet today. That was June, remember. So ION, guys, I know there's a later article here. So next is February. This is actually the later one for June 10th. What's happening to me? Okay, because this was, yeah. So ION, a Microsoft-led decentralized identity system built on top of Bitcoin, has officially been moved to beta on Bitcoin's mainnet today. The news was shared in a release by Casa, a Bitcoin self-custody provider. Now, there's a reason why this article was posted again, because it's very relevant. So first announced in May 2019, the Layer 2 network features its own node structure and is being built as an open source project. That's the other amazing thing, as described to Bitcoin Magazine then. The overarching vision for ION is to furnish users with a decentralized identity DID that could replace the need for usernames. So this decentralized identifier or identity, like a private key when signing a transaction to the Bitcoin network, proves ownership. Colin Harper reported, individual ION nodes on the secondary network will be responsible for keeping track of these decentralized identities and timestamping them onto the Bitcoin blockchain for referencing and attestation. Guys, I'm not going to read this whole article. I think you get the whole idea. There's someone that's creating, I think they're being created as a second layer. Yeah, first announced in May 2019, the Layer 2 network features its own node. So this is a decentralized network. It means anyone can participate, anyone can spin off their own nodes and generate their own self-sovereign identities. A lot of people aren't paying attention to self-sovereign identity, decentralized identities. I think people are paying attention to kind of synthetic assets, but I think a lot of people are distracted by the price movements and NFTs and all these things. They're very, very important, and I think everything operates with each other, just like the decentralized identities. But however, it's important to note out these things that are not being talked about. So this is a repeat of the article. There was an interesting article here that I want you guys to read yourselves. It's very, very long, but if you're interested in knowing more about the history of Bitcoin, this is a perfect article to read. I'll do a quick search here of say Taproot. Okay, there's a lot of things. So I'll just talk about these two things, Taproot and Lightning Network, from this article. So today, back suggestion is being implemented as Schnorr signatures. Schnorr signatures are being added to the Bitcoin network next month as part of the Taproot. Forget the next month, this article, whenever it was written, as part of the Taproot upgrade. Once Taproot is activated and used at scale, most types of wallets and transactions will look the same to observers, including governments, helping to fight the surveillance machine. So Taproot is supposed to help with private transactions or privatization of Bitcoin. It's still public, but making it private and more secure by being private, so you cannot be stamped on by. Anyway, so the other thing I want to search for is Lightning Network. So for now, Bitcoin users can improve their privacy through techniques like CoinJoin, CoinSwap, and by using second layer technology like the Lightning Network or sidechains like Mercury or Liquid. So those that do not know, Lightning Network is a layer 2 scaling solution for Bitcoin where you can perform transactions off-chain, and then the finality or the recording the final transactions happens, or the final state of the transactions happens on the Bitcoin network. So there's this article, this video, by the way, was leading to Bitcoin in a way that I would not understand. It's leading to the DMs of Bitcoin like that. So too early to talk about using crypto for oil. This was Putin. So Russian President Vladimir Putin believes that it's still premature to use cryptocurrencies for settling trades of energy resources like oil. So I'm going to just quote this part here. Cryptocurrency oil contracts, it's too early to talk about it. It works for transferring funds from one place to another, but in terms of trading, especially when it comes to energy resources, it's still premature in my opinion. That's what Putin said. So Putin went on to say that everything evolves and it has the right to exist, adding that the Russian government is closely monitoring the cryptocurrency market. He also did not exclude the possibility that at some point cryptocurrencies will become a means of accumulation. We see how his market fluctuates. It's a bit too early, Putin added. I think we see how this market fluctuates. So the president said that cryptocurrencies are not backed by anything yet. When asked whether he could, fiat money is not backed by anything as well. No, I'm not laughing at Putin. I'm just laughing at this general statement that's said by a lot of people Anyway, they're not backed by anything yet. It's a valid point, however. So when asked whether he considers the crypto holdings by Tesla CEO Elon Musk to be worthless, Putin said no, explaining that he only questioned crypto as a unit of account in the context of energy trading. Yeah, that's my man. No, I think Putin is overly invested in Bitcoin. So he's being conservative with his statements. So there was an interesting tweet here. This has been circulating the crypto space. You know, these whole 2 weeks have been bullish. It's just been about Bitcoin, I think. A few technologies. Anyway, let's continue. So this interesting tweet, this information has been floating around for many weeks now. Bitcoin balances on exchanges have plateaued through October. So total exchange balance in those we track is at around 2.45 million Bitcoin, which is equivalent to August 2018 levels from the 3.11 million Bitcoin all-time high in March 2020. A total of 657,000 Bitcoin have flowed out equally to 21% of the all-time high balance. You can see this chart here. There was an increased supply of Bitcoin on exchanges and they kept plateauing. That normally means that people aren't selling, they're taking off their crypto to hold it. So that's an assumption rather. But it's a good way to assume that situation. Otherwise, most people move their cryptos to exchanges to sell them. So we can see this in the exchange net position change metric, which has been in a net outflow regime I think, since March 2020. So May to July was the primary period of net inflows. However, this has been fully reversed. Exchanges are currently seeing modest outflows of around 20K. So the way I understand this diagram is that the net outflows, if they're in the red, means there's a net outflow in a negative direction, which is a negative net outflow, I guess. So it's in the opposite direction. Then we see the positive net outflow, which is in the green. But then here you can see that the decrease of Bitcoin on exchanges, the red means there's more Bitcoin flowing to the exchanges, but you can see the arrows here. It means the red is actually becoming less and less. It's tending towards, if it manages to break even over this line over here, it will turn into the green, which is a net positive. But yeah, I found this pretty interesting, though there was a counter tweet from someone here. Okay, so interesting analysis. However, this is where I don't agree with your statistics. All this information is useless when trading because the data is lagging. It's not leading and thus cannot be used to make decisions before the price goes up or down. Of course, there's many arguments that can be made about anything said about any price of any cryptocurrency. Yeah, because this market is still too young. It's still very small. It's still very volatile. Most cryptocurrencies can easily be moved around by whales that have a huge sum of money or investment in those digital currencies. So next article, we see Bank of England deputy government regulators should pursue crypto as a matter of urgency. So in a speech to the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunications, SWIFT, so SWIFT is Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication. To think that I'd never looked that up. That's interesting. Okay, on October 13th, Cunliffe said policymakers around the world have only just started to develop framework needed to properly regulate digital assets, but should pursue it as a matter of urgency. So the deputy governor spoke about the risks that cryptocurrencies and stablecoins may pose when connected to traditional financial systems through individuals, financial institutions, hedge funds, and banks. So the focus here is not just on retail investors that usually tell, hey, you're not allowed to invest in crypto if you're not certified, if you not earn $200,000 a year or $1 million in savings or whatever. So I guess this is sort of encapsulating everyone as individuals, not just retail investors, individuals, but also financial institutions, hedge funds, and banks. So all the big boys. So one of the scenarios that Cunliffe posed was if the price of an unbacked crypto asset were to fall to zero, in addition, price volatility, even seemingly among major cryptocurrencies, could trigger margin calls on crypto positions, forcing leveraged investors to find cash to meet them, leading to the sale of other assets and generating spillovers to other markets. I think none of these people should talk. We know governments are extremely reckless with the way they're dealing with fiscal and monetary policy. And how can you regulate? Regulation sometimes is important and it's needed to protect people, but how can you regulate something you don't understand? Have you spent 10,000 hours researching the crypto space to understand what it's all about? I think that's what, if regulators, actually that ties into this next article. Estonia regulator wants to revoke all crypto exchange licenses. I mean, if it's in the name of creating a safer environment, please do it. But I hope it's not in a hindrance way, because these guys are giving up over giving out over 2,000 licenses, and even revoking the ones that revoked to get to the 400 licenses here is still way more than the general license, all the total aggregated licenses held by farms within the European diaspora. So 400 is still steep. Whatever they want to do is, we know Estonia has been extremely, it has been an conducive environment for cryptocurrencies and people, different organizations pursuing this. But I guess they want to clamp down, try to regulate in a way that's attractive to investors, because you don't want high net worth investors saying, oh, we don't want to invest in organizations from that particular country, even if they're from the blockchain space, because they're not regulated. Anyone can just do what they want to do. It's a wild, wild west out there. So last article for the day. New tickers and ARC filing shows Bitcoin futures ETF approval imminent. There's been a lot of talk about the Bitcoin ETF. We know Gary Gensler apparently pinpointed to a potential, instatement of the Bitcoin ETF in the United States. I think they're looking at Canada and they're like, okay, we need to do something about it. So according to Bloomberg's senior ETF analyst Eric Balchunas, there are good signs that the SEC will approve Bitcoin futures ETF applications from ARK Invest and Valkyrie. So of course these are Bitcoin futures. We all hope for spot trading as opposed to futures trading, because futures trading, there's no physical Bitcoin involved and people can just be reckless with the Bitcoin price whenever they want. We know that the Xiaomi Bitcoin futures back in 2018 caused the rather, it seems so coincidental that the ones that could have led to the Bitcoin bear market. So a lot of people are scared that if futures being traded, they could lead to another bear market. But at the same time, a lot of people are bullish on the potential release of Bitcoin ETFs, as they could, be the gateway to huge institutional investment within the cryptocurrency space, which could potentially lead to a parabolic rise in the price of these digital currencies. So guys, this is the news today. It's about Bitcoin. It's about decentralized identities as well, and how they're being leveraged through Microsoft creating a second layer 2 technology to support self-sovereign identities and decentralized identifiers or identities on top of the Bitcoin blockchain, as Bitcoin arguably is the most decentralized and secure network because it's been there for the longest and no one has ever hacked it. If you want to hack it or change the code, you have to fork the network, or you have to attack it in a 50% attack, which is very expensive. Alright guys, that's all I wanted to talk about in the video today. I really hope you learned something, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye bye.